Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another segment of Moments with the Master. My name is Brother Trinity, and I'm one of the ministers and deacons here at the Trinity God's Church of Christ. And today I want to talk to you about the importance of making God your spiritual and physical foundation. The importance of making God your spiritual and your physical foundation. We're going to continue to look at Jesus' Sermon on the Mountain. And in this particular text, we're going to look at Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. And in this text, Jesus talks about two individuals. He talks about one individual who hears his word and puts it into practice, and another individual who hears his word but does not put it into practice. And he compares these two individuals to builders, one who builds his house on a foundation or a solid foundation such as rock. And because he does so, when storms come, that house is able to stand. And he compares the other one who hears his word but does not put it into practice to a builder who builds his house on sand. And because he builds his house on sand, when storms come, that house does not stand. It crashes. And the houses in this particular text represents the individual's life. In other words, what Jesus is saying is that if you hear his word and you put it into practice, when storms in your life come, you will be able to stand through those storms. But if you hear his word and you do not put it into practice, when storms come into your life, the first lesson we can learn from this text is that we should build our lives on the promises of God's word. We should build our lives on the promises of God's word. And you build your life on the promises of God's word by placing your faith in God's word. When you place your faith in God's word, you are making God the foundation of your life. Oftentimes, people struggle during storms because they place their faith in things other than the Lord or other than his word. Sometimes people place their faith in their money or their health or their family and their friends. But the problem with placing your faith in these things is that eventually these things will and they can fail you. Money can be taken from you or lost. Your health can slowly leave you, and your family and your friends may not be present when you need them. But God's word and his promises will always be there when you need them, and they will never fail you. Jesus said that in Matthew chapter 24 and 35, that heaven and earth may pass away, but God's word will never pass away. So you can build your life, your hopes and your dreams on God's word, knowing that they will always be there to help you stand during the difficulties of your life. The second lesson we can learn from this text is that storms are a part of life. Storms are a part of life. So what this means is that it's not a matter of if, but where and when you would have to deal with a storm in your life. Someone once said that we're all in either of three phases within our life. We're either getting ready to go into a storm, we are in a storm, or we've just gotten out of a storm. So in other words, storms are something that we're going to have to eventually deal with. But when you make God's word the foundation of your life, you have properly prepared yourself for the storms of life. David said in Psalms 62:2 that the Lord is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be shaken. In other words, David is saying that because God is my rock, I know that I have salvation. I know that I have protection. And I know that the storms of life will not shake me. So I just want to encourage you today to make God the spiritual foundation of your life. By doing so, you will be properly prepared. And when the storms of life do come, you will not be shaken. Thanks again for joining us for another segment of Moments with the Master. Until next time, may God keep you and bless you.